Hello, everyone, where we talk about all things digital oil field. And today's topic is very interesting and special to us and our company, which is RigER, um, because it's something that we are passionate about, we're driven by, and we've been working in the field for quite some time. So today's topic, we've called it 5 levels of digital oil field maturity. And we're going to be talking about a number of things specifically, and the major takeaway that we would like to um, put out for everyone who's joining us today is that we'll be shedding some light how we see the digital oil field in oil field service and rental companies is evolving. What is the what are the expectations of people and of the solution providers? So where are some potential gaps where the challenges lie and how those can be overcome and how a company can make a decision and then put together a plan to tackle the challenges of those gaps, I guess, and how you can build a cohesive strategy in moving your operations slowly and gradually, but towards an ultimate solution that is efficient in the end, supporting your operations as well as effective. So that's a major challenge. So we're going to be talking about the evolution of the digital oilfield services and how we see it and what can be done about it by every individual company. So on that note, we'll move to one of the most important slides in any presentation that we run on a weekly basis, as well as in ad hoc presentations. So we'd like to thank all our clients for being with us, and those are the clients based on experience working with whom we've developed and refined some of those steps that we're going to be talking about, how one company transforms from one level to another and how one pursues their own path to the operational excellence. So this is a select group of clients that we'd like to thank. And if you are attending this webinar and one representatives of those companies, we'd like to thank you personally for being with us today. There's going to be two of us, as I mentioned, talking about the topic today. Myself is Nikolai Korniuk, so I'm VP of Business Development here at RigER. And we also have Michael Malsop, who's the CEO and President of RigER and Belkasoft Company, the parent company of RigER. And the broadly identified sort of agenda for today is the Industry 4.0. What is it? And how does it apply to the digital, to the oil field services and rentals? So the digital oil field, as we call it, and then the levels of the digitalization of the oil field services and rentals businesses. And as I mentioned, we will conclude with a Q&A. So please do feel free to send your questions through the control panel at the bottom of the screen.
Hello, everyone. This is Michael, and thank you for joining us today for this conversation. So let's begin. So, you know about the industrial revolution, which happened right now, and digitalization of the manufacturing different industries and combining smart technologies, digitalize and transform the industry. We see a lot of different technologies available right now for business to implement into day-to-day operations. So cloud computing, mobile devices, Internet of Things, location detections and GPS tracking, advanced human-machine interactions, and other technologies right now. And usually our clients asking us questions, so how we can do this and where we can start. And today we will talk about a little bit of what kind of steps we need to take to be prepared for that digital revolution and understand what we need to build before we come to those technologies. So talking about the digital maturity curve by industry, we see that the oil and gas right now in very, very, how will put that this way, in a big potential of digitalization, because different industries apply technologies in a different way, and we see that, say, for example, for media or telecom is more and most advanced tourism, all those industries industries are very actively implementing digitalization, digital transformation. However, the oil and gas is more traditional sector, and here we see a lot of big potential to move forward and kind of apply new technologies to this sector.
So one thing I think I wanted to add, Michael, here is that based on our experience, we know that companies really, vary, especially in the oil and gas sector. There is E&P companies, there's service companies, there's manufacturing companies. They all may be operating in the oil and gas, and they may be at different levels of the maturity curve. However, as an industry, it's been well accepted that oil and gas indeed is lagging a little bit behind due to a number of different reasons. The economic reason, this is, the boom and bust sort of, cycles that apply to that. So maybe lack of investment, if you will. But generally speaking, I think we've seen a lot of companies that have huge budgets that have been able to implement some of the latest technology. And at the same time, we have companies that are operating with pen and paper and a whiteboard. So this is where the gap has been observed for a number of years, but we also see an interesting trend. So industry, especially maybe after this crisis, is going to be picking up the pace and investing more and more in the latest and newest technologies as well, and the technologies that are now becoming exponentially more affordable to apply at any scale, especially for the small and medium-sized companies. So, and our focus is specifically to talk to and about the companies that are within that range, small to medium-sized businesses that want to be agile, that don't have billion-dollar budgets, but at the same time understand the value and have the urgency and necessity of moving along that curve as an individual player in that market space. What we've noticed is that the business demand for the digitalization and the new technology is changing, and again, it does not come from necessarily the books, the academic sources. We are pretty much down to earth company that works with a lot of small and medium-sized businesses, and we understand that trying to connect the dots, so to speak, on the demand side as well as the supply side of the technology. So we do see that the new paradigm of energy sector has already been sort of in place, so to speak. So there's more and more talk and applications and the renewables and electricity, and how are we going to be generating the power for the forthcoming years. But energy sectors, oil is used not only for the energy, but for a lot of different applications. So we do see the demand is going to be changing, but at the same time, it's going to be more on the growth side. We also have noticed from the technology side that the new service models are now in place. So versus the on-premise solutions that have been now several decades old, more and more SaaS, so software as a service solution and Internet of Things have developed to the degree that is now, and a lot of companies are using different latest technologies, but more disparately. So trying to connect and bring them all under one fold. New competition comes into the play, especially on the technology side. So more and more companies that have the latest IT technology are bringing that as a competitive advantage into the market, and then new players coming in and start using those technologies out competing, if you will, some of the traditional players. Well, with this latest crisis, we also notice that price volatility is here and it's here to stay, and it's always been there. So it's not that it's something new. So we also know that, but reaction and how fast you can adapt to the changing prices and how fast you can adapt your model, your costs to the changing price, to the changing prices in the market is very specific and very unique, so to speak, I guess, because of that volatility. And what we see is that technology can be effectively used actually to the advantage of the service providers to adjust the operating models as fast as the prices change. So it's pretty flexible these days, and technology allows you to be as flexible as you want to be, as you wish and plan to be. We also understand that the regulatory compliance requirements are changing on an ongoing basis at every function in the organization. Again, how do you keep up with all that? The technology now exists and can be configured to make sure that you're compliant at many and every different level in the organization without, running it through the spreadsheets or relying on outdated ways of collecting information, processing, and outputting it. We also see that a lot of companies are now operating in an environment where there's many different systems that they have to connect under one roof, so to speak, operationally in an organization. HR has their own system, operations may have their own system or no system whatsoever, accounting has a different one, sales has a third one. So connecting all these different pieces of the puzzle into a beautiful picture of the operationally excellent organization is now becoming the major challenge to overcome. But at the same time, those that pay attention to how to bring it all together and what they need to do, and looking around and seeing what the technologies are available, they're able to take advantage of those new and different technologies that integrate with each other. Also, companies are now being empowered with looking inside at a deeper level and seeing the inefficiencies, and through this, applying the new technologies, even at a functional or departmental level, they can see where their inefficiencies are, not at a gut level, not at a gut feeling level rather, but they now have more and more data and like to see more data. So they've got the taste of seeing the numbers and making decisions based on the numbers in non-traditional sort of functions, not an accounting function, or not the one that has been traditionally using the numbers to a greater degree. Accountability and transparency to the investors and stakeholders, such as the government and the broader community, has become such a huge thing. So making available information about how you operate and what you do for the community, for the greater good, so to speak, is very important. And communicating that information as well as collecting and processing is very important. Security and technology availability are the other two sort of factors and criteria that we see impacting the demand and its change. So it's very complex, but at the same time, we understand that one has to have an idea how to tackle that and actually organize the information so that it wouldn't be too much an overwhelming situation. So that's where we wanted to talk about today, how you can, take that hairy ball of different factors, criteria, and parameters, and assess them in a very rational, logical way, and put together a roadmap with a tangible plan how you can move from where you are, whatever the level of your maturity of the organizational performance and excellence is, to the next one, so that you'd be able to more comfortably in a more organized fashion to move along.
Yeah, I'd like to add here that those forces are changing constantly, and the dynamics is sometimes really scary. So kind of a price volatility or technology availability, it's coming faster, and sometimes people are really frustrated what they can do because there is a huge gap between what we see we can do and where we at right now. And let's talk about this and how we can help with that. So the evaluation of the digital impact is enormous. So lots of business leaders think that the digital is a next step for each organization. Sooner or later, most of the oil and gas companies will come to the digital transformation, and depending on the situation, depending on how the situation will develop, so it will be different approaches. So, for example, 50% of upstream oil and gas leaders say the top impact of digital transformation is increased productivity. We hear from our clients that they consider RigER as a competitive advantage of what they do, and they'd like to keep this competitive advantage and develop it. They told that RigER, when we implement RigER, it keeps the cost of the running of business at low level, which is critical right now. And other benefits are coming with the digitalization. Definitely, it's a big, complex implementation, and which will impact a future of the bottom line of any business?
Yeah, you can also see that the digital processes are somebody's trying to measure that, which is a good thing. So, and again, these numbers were average numbers. At the same time, everybody has their own way of assessing where they're at and how much the savings on the OPEX or the impact is. So it's possible to measure even at an individual organizational level with the system or an information gathering or IT system once it's set up in the organization.
So, talking about digital oil field technologies and how we can apply all those new things as drones, robots, a very sexy modeling, visualization, business intelligence, we need to step back and understand what kind of base we need to build to be ready for those technologies and what we can do right now to move to this level. So, we build a model which will show you several levels of the digital oilfield roadmap, and we can start from level 0 when we have zero digitalization and the paper tickets and whiteboards, which is most popular. So this 0 or ground level we usually see at the startups, small shops, small teams, with simple visual systems where they put the whiteboards. Actually, you can see this in the photo, and move some magnets or just start writing them down. The challenge they try to achieve that. So first of all, they'd like to have a system to track all the resources, could be team, manpower, or equipment, and all the projects and all the jobs. So it's very simple and very visual system. Usually, there is no any other system in place, and those companies use basic accounting for invoice the client. And definitely the managers and accountant are very high involved in this process. So manually routine transactions and building tickets, like writing tickets physically, and then convert them to the invoices. So this is how the level 0 looks like. So definitely, zero digitalization has some pros and cons, which is like common for everything. And definitely the number one is flexibility. So you can write down whatever you want in any ticket, and there is no any structure. You can do whatever you want because it's like a plain piece of paper. It's easy to start and inexpensive. In many cases, when you start, it's cheaper. You do not need to invest any money to any system and build the systems. But from other side, we see a lot of errors, misspelling, type writing, 3 to 8, 8 to 3, misreading. The process is very slow. It's not scalable. When the business is growing, it's becoming challenging to scale it. It's very time consuming. Sometimes you need to hire more people to process all the tickets, and it will require extensive communication. So could be a texting, emailing, calling, and checking out all the time, and put everything to the whiteboards or any other maybe maps, calendars, or whatever. And this can support only simple operations. And another very dangerous thing, when you lost ticket, you lost revenue and lost equipment potentially. Nikolai, your experience?
Yes, I think we've seen it in so many cases, but the context, I guess, of this, pros and cons of having no digital, has changed also. So we've seen more and more of these kind of companies 3 years ago. So especially probably those are sprouting up when the oil prices are picking up, and then the market, the market entry opportunity arises. So it's a pretty low cost, as we just see that it's really inexpensive to start an operations in oilfield services for a specific segment or segment. And then you just kind of, it was pretty typical 2, 3 more years ago. What we're seeing now, there's been a change. So less and less companies, because of the general trend of changing, using, everybody's got a mobile phone, there's different kind of apps now. So different companies are now moving by themselves to a second stage where they're trying to apply new technology. And go ahead, Michael. So that's
the second stage, definitely. They see more and more companies moving to the level 1 or simply software. When we have a basic desktop configuration, so very, very simple cloud-based software where we are trying to catch all the jobs, track all the records about field tickets, and do some very simple transactions in shop, kind of assemblies, transfers, bill of materials, do some job preparation, scheduling. So this is a basic level when you start entering all the data to the computer. Because most of the people understand that it's not unavoidable nowadays. You need to do to systemize tickets and do something about this.
And here's a summary of what the level 1 looks like in the in a very brief overview. So we see that these are the small businesses with now several shops. They can have 1 or more shops and yards where they keep equipment. So some basic technology allows them to start growing a little bit and expanding. And it's more of an extensive growth. So you have to bring more people on board because you're not fully integrated with the system, so you can grow by hiring more people and more resources. You can in the description of the business, generally speaking, is just you do run the services. It's a pretty simple operation. You have a person, you have a client, you get a call, you just dispatch it. You dispatch a technician with equipment. You give them a carbon copy of a ticket or an Excel generated paper and printed out paper form of a ticket, and then they go out to the job, do the fill out of a ticket on paper, bring it back, and then accounting department or accountant or accounts payable clerk might enter that into the or first having done a lot of manual work verifying information, and then issues an invoice, and then when that invoice goes out to the client, it's got some basic information in it, may or may not be compliant with the requirements of the major client that they're serving, because there's more and more now information is being collected by the NP companies from the vendor. So that's a major challenge that companies are trying to overcome by creating very complex Excel spreadsheets, integrating different fields into a sort of semi-digital or digital but printable ticket, so to speak, on the computer.
Yeah, for sure. And from our practice, I saw a very, very complex Excel spreadsheets with dozens of pages, lists in it, and it's very very complex to manage. It's very, very tough to understand what's going on, and required lots of resources to reconcile and change fields in it. Another application, it's a kind of become popular nowadays. It's the forms, where you can build your own form and sometimes in the cloud, and you can use it on your computer, on your phone. However, the data collected there is only just a stay in the database, so you couldn't process the data further, and data is not in many cases is not structured. So there are lots of human errors, again, mistyping, misprinting, and it could be again the challenges here are scalability, visibility, and speed. So in some cases, you need to open this form and collect, combine, message the data, and then trying to invoice the client in accounting system. So again, we see more and more companies right now at level 1, less companies at level 0. So people understand that this is the way, and how they try to explore what they can do next and what kind of solution they can see in the future. So definitely same pros, like a flexibility, easy to start, minimal training required, inexpensive, and those systems could be very stable for a long period of time. You can use the kind of this format for a number of years, like 3, 4, 5 years. Some of our clients they use that kind of structure system for 4 or 5 years, and trying to understand how they move forward. And the problem with those systems is scalability. Again, lots of room for errors, very extensive communications required, and again, it's very, very slow. So the next level, which we define as a basic level for moving forward to the digital transformation and Oilfield 4.0, it's a cloud oil field. When you move all your simple software to the cloud application and trying to add more departments and combine departments together. So it's not only operations now, it's becoming sales with price management, with sales approval, quotes, kind of CRM systems, accounting from another side, when you trying to invoice, set up a different billing rules, and do the accounting integration with more advanced accounting systems. For example, it could be Microsoft Dynamics or any other big systems.
Yes, and it's just we've shown you there's a different functions, right, in our organization, different teams in the groups, that it's definitely more complex, more organized way to set up your business. I think we're seeing, and correct me if I'm wrong, Michael, is that probably majority of the companies now, especially the ones that have an idea of growth in mind, they're moving into the cloud by themselves, or by attracting some advice from third-party companies, maybe dispersed groups of companies, organizing their operations and making sure that they can start using those available technologies, sometimes free, sometimes low-cost technologies, to organize different processes. They're still, though, disparate. They're still disconnected. So connecting every organization, that poses the next level challenge, so to speak.
Yeah, for sure. This level represented by a wide range of different companies. Again, the business is a little bit mature, and you can see several regions working sometimes independent. Description, the oilfield service and equipment rentals, advanced integration with accounting, we can see here, and the challenge become are like more obvious here. That's connect office and oil field and add the extension of the system to your field guys. And in terms of active participants, we involve more and more people to the system. So we add sales department, we add accountants, so we add dispatchers, sometimes shop managers. So more and more people see the one source of truth. However, the next step required to move forward. And the next step is mobile oil field. When we add mobile application and give an ability to a field personnel to see what they need to do and connect to the office and send the data simultaneously. And when we talk about a next level, it will require new modules, new blocks, new elements of the ecosystem. It definitely will be a management with task management, task approval, reports, purchases, where you can see the purchase approval, purchase documents, and PO requests. And this one of the function which you can move to the mobile. The requester can send a manager request to purchase something for the mobile phone and even attach the quote or vendor paperwork. Next step, next element will be huge and big thing for the oil field is safety. So safety tickets, GSA, safety checklist. So there's another layer where you can use mobile applications, and definitely because you have lots of users and employees in the system, you required HR module and track qualifications and skills, safety certificates, all kind of different documents or associated with HR and safety. So they come together. And if we talk about another applications, another elements of mobile, it definitely will be sales, dispatching, field, shop operations. So mobiles become like extension of the entire system, and everyone can have this in his hands.
Yeah, and you can see here on this slide. So we just kind of had the level two right there. So the key functions there, but then there's augmentation, so to speak. We see when the companies start evolve and kind of think of how they're going to organize, they just bring everybody closer together and start using that connection piece between the cloud, between the different departments as well as the mobile. So it's an interesting transformation that we're seeing, and a lot of people are moving into that space. A lot of companies are moving into the mobile. So everybody wants to do a lot of things on the mobile device, and it's a very noble goal. It's very doable, but it has to be approached in an organized fashion. That's our recommendation always when we come to that.
Yeah, definitely. When we talk about mobile oil field, we have several challenges, and our discovery was that kind of like technical challenges itself, because you need to understand the oil field environment and understand that you have limited connectivity or no connectivity in most of the oil field sites. In this case, your device should work online and offline and synchronize the cloud database through the manual request or automatically. However, you need to understand the limitations of the mobile application, so you couldn't show like everything in a tiny screen. So that kind of like a challenges or we faced when we start developing mobile app 4 years ago, and it was quite an experience. And I can tell you that mobile application is a completely different software and completely different approach required to if we compare cloud and mobile applications. But talking about those organizations, definitely they're more advanced from organization standpoint. And the challenge number two, which was a kind of surprise for us, that the implementing of the mobile application required a specific corporate culture and sometimes organizational changes. Because you start using mobile apps everywhere and everyone can enter anything. So you need to set up some rules, put some restrictions, and be sure that everyone understand what they need to enter to the system. So the employees' technical skills become more important. So we're not talking about like kind of nobody understand how to use the mobile phone, but everyone needs to understand that they need to select the right equipment, and it's important. It's not just select anything which you can find in your database, in your phone database. So it's not that. Uh, so it required some sort of responsibility of everyone, of each user. And we see that the number of users or active participants in the system just become more and more wider. So like from sales representatives, sales managers, operations managers, dispatchers, field technicians, accountants, top management. So everyone right now use the same ecosystem, and they start communicate not only in a verbal but in a digital level. So it's a kind of a corporate culture shift, and not everyone prepared for that. Not everyone understand that, and this is very important. From our experience, the fastest way when you can shift from level 2 to level 3 could be at least 3 months. 3 months required to adopt level 2, and then start slowly moving to the level 3, because this is not a technological, it's organizational change.
Right on. And I think as you mentioned, Michael, we've seen a lot of companies trying to kind of jump through, but then they have to take a number of steps back to jump from one level to another one too fast. So they have to take a few steps back. So in the end, it just kind of makes the process a little longer to them. But they realize what they need to do. So strong and capable management is required. It also raises the bar for the transparency and accountability in the organization, as we've just said. So everybody understands what role they play, what information they enter, and how that information that they enter is impacting the other person in the organization. So it's really becoming more of a team building exercise, if you will, where everybody is playing on the same side and does their part in the overall game of running the business.
Okay, let's move to the more advanced level when we talk about business intelligence. And the way how we define this level when the organization ready to work together and different departments and people start working in the same ecosystem. Right now, we see that we collect a number of data which we need to analyze, which we need to interpret it for the management, to support management decisions. And here we have several next steps, several next elements. So first of all, when we have data and we have an operational data in RigER, we can build a job costing module and provide the operational results for each single job, which is very important to understand where you're losing money, where you're earning money, where is profitability, etc. Another application is the business intelligence dashboard or business analytics dashboard, where we can compare different sets of data, different types of data, understanding trends, understanding where we're going and how things developing. Moreover, we building the integration with Power BI or Tableau, the business intelligence tools, where we can export data from our database and put different data from other systems, for example, accounting or telemetry. So, and based on that, we can build some correlations and see what kind of trends we have in this case. Another application is the web portal, where we can provide the information to our vendors and to our clients. So it's very, very interesting concept when you provide as much information as you can to your client, and this transparency become your competitive advantage. So the client can see all the equipment which we use, the not only kind of unit numbers, but all the service data or the certifications, when it was kind of a last time maintained, etc. Another thing, they can see detailed invoices and understand what cause this or that extra or less charges. And we can integrate with the different platforms such as a document sign platform, as Adobe Sign or DocuSign, and other third-party systems like Avalara to provide the taxes to those invoices. And another discovery is that we can build a CRM system which will connect marketing, sales, and operations, which is a very unique position where we can see the entire cycle of the client maturity or client servicing, and see not only pipeline in marketing or sales conversions, but see the operations results and finally understand the full cycle of interactions with client. So this is like 4 elements which we consider as the next level for our ecosystem for the digitalization of the oil field.
And you can see that they're just kind of stacking up one upon another. This is kind of a layered and sort of tiered approach when you bring and solve one level issue, then the second and the third one. And then in the end, it just augments the whole, management and empowers management with so much information that is not cluttered, but rather organized, analyzed, and provided on an ongoing basis so that the whole management and operations running becomes way easier and more clearer. So you know what's going on basically on a daily basis.
This is very, very important comment. You couldn't move to the next level without build of base of the previous level. So you couldn't implement mobile applications without having a clear understanding how things works in the cloud. You couldn't run BI because you simply didn't need data to fill these reports and dashboards. So talking about the business intelligence level, we see that it's a very advanced organization. So and they can run several types of businesses and can build this as a working tool for the managers. So, and the next level is the Oilfield 4.0. So we believe that after those 4 levels, we will be ready for all those new technologies which we widely see right now, and which we ready to implement. And one of the applications which we can definitely consider here as the next level of the ecosystem and next several elements. It's a smart operations using RFID and Internet of Things and wearable devices. So moreover, if we talk about RFID, I believe that it's a next step for the rental business. It's a next step for the tracking of the equipment. And I believe that as soon as the technology will be more commercialized, more affordable, more and more clients will start using this technology because this is awesome thing. And advanced integrations. We see the power of the integration between different systems and different software because it's not possible to build. Okay, it's possible to build very huge, complex, and very heavy system, but it will be really tough to operate it. It will be tough to maintain and developing. So that is why we use the integrations with different pieces of specialized software, which we connect them together. And definitely, when we talk about oilfield rentals and any equipment transactions, operations, manufacturing, whatever, the big thing and the big advantage of new technology implementations will be a predictive maintenance, where we can combine together all the sensors, read all the data, and show in the dashboard our predictions about failure of the this element, this equipment, this piece, and we can do the preventive services, which will reduce the downtime time and lower our costs.
And I just wanted to add here is that it's not a future technology already, so it exists, and we know that both the IT technology exists as well as the sensors and the the power to process information already exists. It's important to understand that we're not talking about something that is a pie in the sky. So we're talking about something that already is accessible and available. The only thing that has been missing in many cases is that the companies have not gone through the evolutionary steps to kind of move and get closer to reap the whole benefit of having that technology of the advanced industry 4.0 level at the organization. So that's why it does take time to get through every step, and then you reap the full benefit of it if you just go through at whatever pace you are moving along. But as long as you have a plan, you know where you're headed to, and then you can reap the full benefit of having those smart operations, really advanced integrations where information flows smoothly between different departments, internally and externally, including the stakeholders, as well as the maintenance side on the equipment and the services rentals, because everybody wants to know when a certain item can fail. And that has been widely used already in the energy sector that are, capital intensive sort of businesses, but the technology has been developed and can be applied now at a smaller scale for the small and medium sized companies as well, as long as they're ready and prepared and have the infrastructure for the data availability and accessibility to be processed.
Yeah, talking about this advanced digitalization, so definitely it's the enterprise level, usually big organizations with very wide infrastructure. And again, the most challenging thing would be technology availability and affordability of those technologies. So definitely those technologies exist. However, the applications is not that wide as it should be. So I believe that next couple of years we will see a lot of commercialized examples of those technologies, and I expect that it will be wide like those technologies will be very, very wide in the oil and gas sector. And definitely when we talk about these advanced digitalizations, like all the employees become active participants, and the software become the cloud and mobile applications. So what we need to do, and how we can move to the kind of like next level, we suggest to have a particular plan how to move forward.
Yeah, and here we just kind of put basically, and anybody can assess themselves, or with the help of a good partner where they're at any different stage as far as the different levels of the digitalization maturity roadmap goes. But the steps are universal for everybody, and that's what we learn from working with a number of the companies that have set their goals early enough in their stage. So we know one thing, that it's not an option to go with the latest technology. It's just because it's more of a survivability issue. So you have to be prepared and you have to think about it. And we know that a lot of companies are thinking about it, but don't know how to approach the whole thing. So there is a way. That's what we're going to be talking. That's what we're talking about right now. We also know that to win the race, you have to be in it. In other words, you have to be making a first step. You have to be in. You have to begin somewhere, and plan by itself is not going to get you anywhere, but it's your guiding source and of information and activities. So you have to look inside an organization and actually assess what are you capable of, what your processes are, what your technology that has been used. So basically it's more of a readiness assessment that you can initiate by yourself, or you can hire a consultant company to do that. So we are gladly helping our clients to start with that step always. That gives them sort of a lay of the land. So that then gets transformed into a plan, a specific, tangible plan of what you're trying to accomplish, where you set the goal and understand this is what I'm trying to achieve. Again, it just comes from looking inside and being self-aware, as well as externally what technologies are there that are accessible and available. Then you find a good partner to work with, and there may be several partners, depending on what level you're at and what exactly you're trying to accomplish. And then the next level up is this: you have to prepare for the change. And so having looked inside, you would have some insight about what your organization is capable of doing, and the capabilities, and the most important and a critical thing you have to be mindful of. So and then understanding how your organization has been transitioning through a change, and how it can be very adaptable and agile, and going through the next series of the changes, or rather ongoing set of changes that will incur, because without the change, nothing is going to happen. One important thing also that relates to the organization is that you may have a plan for a change. You may understand what the dimensions of that change are in your organization, as well as and how they align with the industry. But you have to train the people. You have to understand that workforce is very diverse in their skill set. There's different generations as well, and bringing everybody on board and training them, although the technology becomes easier and easier to use with every year, both the mobile and the cloud and the computer, but you still have to pay attention to how to train the people, and that's kind of more of a part of the change. And the sooner you start, the better you're off in the whole process of converting into the digital. So again, the key thing is just to think, plan, and then start.
Yeah, for sure. And talking about winning the race, sometimes it's not necessary to run faster, but start earlier. So,
yeah.
So in that note, usually if you'd like to explore how RigER solve those 5 levels and what we have to offer about each of those levels, book your demo today. Call us or go to our website and book demo there.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Michael, and everyone, and thank you to all of you who participated today in our more of a kind of a thought exchanging format webinar. Thank you for sticking around. Again, it's a very interesting topic to us. We're very passionate about it, and it's very important to the industry as well. So we're going to be talking more about those things in the coming weeks and months. Stay tuned. I don't see any more questions, and we've come up to the top of the hour, so I want to make sure that everybody's got the time to go have a lunch and maybe just walk outside, following the social distancing rules and such. Again, thank you everyone for being with us today, and we're looking forward to connecting with you in other sessions, as well as in over email or through the phone or in person when the time comes.
Thank you so much for your attention, and we can chat next week. Next week we will have a next webinar. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.